Let's talk about one of the most common fitness myths everyone has heard of, and that is starvation mode. You've probably heard someone say, oh, you're not losing weight because your body's in starvation mode, or you shouldn't be eating that low of calories because it'll put your body in starvation mode. Well, that's not really how it works, and that's just not something our bodies can do. Otherwise, we would see people in pretty much every country living and never dying due to starvation, which is something that just happens very commonly still, unfortunately. The truth is that your body just doesn't stop losing fat for no reason. There's a lot of nuance to this topic and a lot of reasons you might be plateauing at a certain weight. So today we're just going to go over some common misconceptions about fat loss and starvation mode. When you diet, you do actually start to lose your metabolism a little bit, but this is simply just due to the fact that you are just going to become a smaller human being. Think about like pretty much every top bodybuilder, every top NFL player, all of them eat so much food, and that is simply just due to the fact they are massive people. For example, me, I am about 200 pounds. I can eat like 3,000 calories, no weight gain. That might even be a slight deficit for me depending on my activity level. But for someone who is like a 120-pound girl, for example, 5'2", let's just say, she's gonna need a lot less food than me, and she's going to have to eat sometimes like 1,200 calories depending on how active they are. So it really just comes down to, you know, calories in, calories out. Another thing that causes this is you just simply move less the longer you're in a deficit. This is just something that happens. You subconsciously are fidgeting, subconsciously tapping your feet. You know, you do all of these things like unknowingly, and that really slows down once you start getting into a deficit for long enough. It adds up. You may not think it's a lot, but it is actually more than actual exercise. And you're probably not being as accurate with your diet as you think. The longer you're in a deficit and in a fat loss phase, the more your ghrelin is going to increase and going to cause you to end up binging or just snacking throughout the day. Now, the body does prioritize survival, so it's going to fight back against the deficit a lot of the time. But it will never stop you from actually losing the weight. What ends up happening is that your hunger skyrockets, energy levels in the shitter, cravings way higher because your body is just craving food, craving carbs, craving that quick energy source that it's not getting because you're in a deficit. This has created the idea that the starvation mode is real when it's really, really not. Very low calorie diets can work in the short term, but you do have to taper out of that. That's something that works for a lot of people and myself is starting off pretty aggressive and tapering up the calories every few weeks up to like 200-300 calories per week sometimes. Some other reasons why low calorie diets are often so unsustainable is simply just due to the fact people do them far too long. They also just don't choose the correct foods to eat, and they're just lacking many nutrients that they should be getting in. And you have to eat so clean on such a low calorie deficit that it really makes it your food awful. You don't get to enjoy your food. And a lot of people go really low on the fats, which is the worst possible thing you can do because this will just nuke your hormones for men and women. It's not good. It really fucks you up. And when people rebound, they often gain all of the weight that they lost back simply due to the fact that it just led to them binging for weeks on weeks. I've experienced this myself. I've had friends who have dealt with it. It sucks. So the best thing you can do is just make your diet sustainable. A lot of people who like to use the number 1,200 calories as what they were eating and why they're not losing weight. And when in reality, you're going to lose, almost everyone is going to lose weight at that calorie deficit. I promise you. Even some of the smallest, more petite women will lose weight. And what happens a lot of the time is that water retention or mistracking or snacking throughout the day and they're not tracking it is actually just enough to like put them in a calorie like surplus, or they're, you know, using oil in their foods. There's so many things that people do wrong that causes them to just simply be back into calorie maintenance or even a surplus. So no, starvation isn't real in the sense that you will just simply stop losing weight. You're not stuck, your metabolism isn't broken, you just need to be smarter with how you diet. More patience and a plan that works with your body and not against it. Stop blaming starvation mode and start actually understanding how fat loss occurs.